Hello, welcome to this special mini podcast as part of the Stag Roar. Now, this is from New Zealand Big Game Records series, Volume 2. It's called The Wapiti and the Moose. Written and compiled for the New Zealand Deer Stalkers Association Incorporated by D.Bruce Banwell. And we're able to do this with permission from the Halcyon Press, a division of Halcyon Publishing Limited. And this was copyrighted in 2001, D.Bruce Banwell. First published 2001. All rights reserved. And they've given us permission to do this little series, the 400 Club. Righto, it's a pleasure to read this 400 Club series and be given permission from the publishers to read this out. I've also read The Seeker, and we might have to do a series of the Seeker trophies as written by D. Bruce Banwell, which is from Volume 1 of the New Zealand Big Game Records series. So we might dive into that. I thought in terms of introducing the 400 Club, I'd read to you what's titled Introduction to the Second of the Series, and that's from Geoffrey B. Allbell, MBE, first President of the NZDA, from 1938 to 1952, and at the time he was living in Cromwell in Otago. Having been invited to write an introduction to the series on record heads, I look back at the beginnings of our association when our motto appeared on our all letterheads. Sometime during the 50s, a secretary decided it had nothing to do with our members, and so it disappeared from sight. That motto was a quotation from a poem by an American poet by the name of Don Byrne, and read, "Somewhere out beyond the cities, far from toil and daily grind." I think that secretary made a serious mistake. Few of us go out hunting just to get a record head. Most of us go because of a basic love of the outdoors, far away from those cities and the daily grind. If one should return with meat or a trophy, then that is a bonus. But the memories of camps and campfires shared with our friends, the call of the morepork, the wind, the rain, the sun, the barking of a wary hind, and in season the close-up roar of a rutting stag can often mean more to us in many ways than do trophies of the chase. Many of those hunters who never achieved the securing of a trophy worthy of being listed in the association records have other memories to savour. It is out beyond the cities that really counts, and if this aspect of hunting was stressed more by our association, it should assist others to come to an understanding of our aims and motives. When the association became active once again following World War II, I had a lot to do with one Captain G.F. Yerricks, who at the time in charge of the deer destruction operations conducted by the Department of Internal Affairs. In many ways, he was sympathetic to the association's cause and remarked on our motto, stating it put our aims in their true light. When I donated the trophy to the association, now presented to the best trophy of any species at the annual national competitions, I was thinking ahead, because at the time, red deer was considered by many to be the, changing page here, ultimate quarry and the only one worth hunting. The Douglas system of scoring antlers and horns has made it much easier to decide on the merits of a particular trophy and allows us the ability to compare the quality between varying species. I carried out my hunting in the days before helicopters and the Douglas system of measuring, when heads were judged by the number of points, length and spread. In those days a trophy was not considered worth taking or having mounted unless it had a minimum of 12 points, and each antler was in excess of 40 inches in both length and spread. My best head was an even 18-pointer, but measured only 38.5 inches in length on both antlers, and was 37.5 inches in spread. The Sea Scouts required knife handles, so I cut it up for them to use for that purpose. Gripes. I wish this series of books every success, but it must be remembered that during the 1920s and early 30s, there were a number of great trophies taken out of New Zealand by overseas sportsmen, and of these, only a few will have been recorded. So that brings us to the 400 Club. All measurements quoted for the Douglas score are expressed in inches, 1 inch equaling 25.4 millimetres. In the list of trophies and the relating score sheets presented with the profiles of those trophies scoring in excess of 400, all measurements are expressed in eighths of an inch, with the exception of the final score. This system is used for ease of measurement and ultimate assessment. In this volume, the complete score sheet is presented with each trophy. There have been some amendments to the original Douglas scores, resulting in a change in order in some cases. Some of the amendments made were due to shrinkage over a considerable period of time, many of the trophies being measured up to 60 years after having been taken. Our finding suggests reductions from the original figures of up to 3 inches in both length and spread. Inquiries in North America confirmed our suspicions, so where the original measurements were within that range, but a little higher, the length, spread, span and final score were amended accordingly. These amendments were made with confidence, considering some of the original scoring had been carried out by experienced and competent people, but straight up the main beam, as was the practice of those days. Much, therefore, depended on the conformation of the atlas, the Douglas system, what it is, method of assessing length, in most cases increased the length, but due to excessive shrinkage being obvious in those traditional Nelsoni-style heads, it was at time less. It has been concluded, therefore, that Wapiti antler is inclined to shrinkage, and to a greater extent than that of red deer. Of course, the components cannot be amended, as these were never recorded under the old system. Environment can play a part also. But as all the trophies in this case are from one general area, that should not be a significant contributing factor. Where deemed necessary, the length, spread and span have been adjusted and the final score amended accordingly. I hope you enjoy this series. There's 46 heads going to be talked about in this series, and we look forward to bringing them to you. We'd love to hear your feedback, and let us know what's your favourite. Check us out on Instagram, either at Stag Ryan or at Ryan O'Connor NZ, which is the usual podcast page. And while you're here, check out some of the longer form podcasts from the Stag Roar.